the technology part in any consumer or business bank is like 80% of the success. Because retail is scale, everything is at scale. You cannot do it manually. So you need to know really a lot about technology, I think, to go faster than the rest or to do it better than the rest.
Welcome to Technovation. I'm your host, Peter High. My guest today is Saul Van Beurden. Saul is the head of consumer, small, and business banking at Wells Fargo, serving the company's consumer, small, and business banking customers through all digital channels, numerous retail branches, ATMs, and customer service centers. Saul previously served as the head of technology for the company and led the global team of information technology and security professionals. Under his leadership, the team has executed an engineering-led IT strategy, driving the company's transformation efforts to become a leader in risk management and innovation for customers and clients. Prior to joining Wells Fargo in 2019, Saul was the CIO of consumer and community banking at JPMorgan Chase. He's also served in technology and operations leadership roles at Marsh & McLennan, ING Group, among other firms. And now for a word from our partner, Airia. There's a reason most enterprise AI initiatives never make it to production. You can't find a platform that's both powerful and secure enough. The result? AI budgets burn with zero business impact, but not anymore. Airia is the enterprise AI platform that delivers speed without compromise. Unlike other platforms that force you to choose between fast deployment or secure operations, Airia brings speed and security together. Launch AI quickly without cutting corners on compliance, scale rapidly without sacrificing governance, move at the speed of business without moving past your security requirements. Fortune 500 companies across finance, healthcare, retail, legal, and more choose Airia because they deliver what seemed impossible. Enterprise AI that's fast enough to beat the competition and secure enough to protect your most sensitive data. Ready for AI at full speed with zero compromise? Visit Airia.com to see the platform in action. That's AIRIA.com. Simplify enterprise AI. And now on to the interview. Saul, welcome back to Technovation. It's great to speak with you again.
It's great to see you again, Peter. It's a bit of time ago. It was in the middle of the pandemic, the last time that we spoke, and this feels better.
Yeah, I agree with you. Saul. So great to see you under better circumstances. Talk a bit, if you would, about Wells Fargo's business as it stands now. Give us broader context as to the business you're in.
Well, Wells Fargo is a large bank here in the US. We have 5 business lines that goes from the consumer side of the house all the way up to the wholesale corporate side of the house. We basically serve everybody here in the US, whether you're a mass client, like a starter, a youngster, a student, all the way up to wealthy clients that we also help with our own unique services. And then we have from small business to business banking to like business with $25 million revenue, 25 million, all the way up to the largest corporations here in the world that we serve as well. We are the number 3 bank in the US, the number 5 bank in the world in terms of market capitalization. We've been around for a long time. We're one of the first banks here in the US, mainly US focused. If you look at our revenue, like 90 to 95% comes from the US, but we follow our larger clients all the way around the world. The bank has come from a pretty rough patch, if you can say it like that, in 2016. I can tell more about that if you have any questions there. But this is basically who we are. And revenue-wise, for people who are interested, like somewhere between 80 and 85 billion a year. And we have 210,000 employees serving like 50, 60 million consumer customers, and then tens of thousands corporations and businesses here around the US and the world.
Extraordinary scale. And I'd like to actually get into what you were alluding to, that even if I reflect on the last time we spoke on the record back in 2020, very different circumstances, obviously different circumstances around the globe. But your business is also in a different place now than it was then. Can you talk a bit about the evolution? You alluded to some of what transpired in the last decade that continued perhaps to some extent through into this one. Talk a bit about the transformation that you've been a part of in more recent years.
You know, if you look at where we come from, 2016 to 2018, we got a whole lot of regulatory actions thrown at us for the right reasons. Let it be clear, we did things that we shouldn't have been doing on the consumer side of the house with sales practices, for some people who still remember that. But it also revealed that the company didn't have the risk and control environment that is expected from a bank of this size. So basically from 2018 to very recently, we have been working hard on two things. One, make sure that the bank is in control, knows its risks, and is able to manage the risks. And we have done that. We have satisfied the biggest needs of the regulators, and the biggest need was really the control and risk in the operational sense of the way of thinking. And that's when the asset cap got lifted, because we got a kind of unprecedented sanction as a bank where our balance sheet was capped. We couldn't grow any further assets from 2018 to very recently. The second thing that we have been doing is mainly in the consumer side of the house, is making sure that things that happened before 2016 with sales practices can never happen again. And we have been working really hard to rationalize that. Now, with that behind us, you start to focus on almost a green field type of world where you say, okay, we have a lot of power to grow. The balance sheet that we have is allowed to grow. We have a very strong franchise with still so much potential. And that applies to every business line that we have, whether it's for the consumer credit side of the house, where we can do more credit cards and apply more loans and home loans. It could be on my side of the house, which is the consumer and small business or business banking side of the house. But it could also be in the commercial banking, in the corporate investment banking, and the wealth and investment management. Every single business line has upside in terms of, let's call it organic growth opportunities, Peter.
Great overview, Saul. Thank you so much for that. And I want to, as I alluded to in the introduction, talk a bit about your latest role as Chief Executive Officer of Consumer, Small, and Business Banking. A remarkable rise that you've had from a technology, the technology background you had, perhaps in some ways speaks volumes as to how important technology is and what a great foundation that is to take on these greater sets of responsibilities. My analysis, not yet yours. But I wanted to, first of all, have you describe your purview in this latest role of yours.
Happy to do that, Peter. And of course, it was an enormous honor when our CEO was asking me, do you want to take on this role? Think about it. And it took me 36 hours and a conversation with my wife to say yes. The consumer and small and business banking side of the house is really, let's say, the money center bank that we are. This is where all the customers here in the US are going to the branches or to the digital app. We serve them with the main products that you can expect from a consumer bank: checking, savings, CDs. Then we also have all the payment instruments like debit, like Zelle, which is here the P2P, the person-to-person instrument that we use here in the US, but also wires, ACH, all those things. We do that for like 50 million type of consumer customers. We have roughly 3.5 million business banking clients, and business banking really goes from $1 of revenue all the way up to $25 million revenue. And if you look at the consumer side of the house, we start with, like I said earlier, people who start in the banking system, like the students or the youngsters, the children of our customers, all the way up to 10 million of deposit balances or investment balances. We cover that whole set of needs for all those customers. Everybody who has more than 10 million goes really into the wealth and investment management space, where we have the wealth advisors from my dear friend Barry Summers, who's the CEO of Wealth and Investment Management. If you look at what falls under my leadership, if you want to say it like that, it's all the channels that we have to serve our customers. So that stretches from the 4,000 branches that we have, the mobile app, online banking, as well as the virtual assistant, AI-supported virtual assistant that we have, goes into the contact centers. And then if you look at all the roles that we have, it's product and product development on the deposit side. It is all of payments, like I said. It's marketing. It's all the business bankers and all the relationship bankers and the licensed bankers and the personal bankers. And it's just a very wonderful role to have. One thing that is pretty unique is that we also own the data as well as all the AI development for the consumer side of the house for the whole spectrum, whether it's for wealth and investment management or for credit products. It's for everybody. AI development and digital also fall under my remit. And I'm super happy to have that because it's one of my hobbies. Can I say it like that? I see work as a hobby. That's definitely a hobby. I love that part. Yeah.
First of all, actually, can I ask the logic of including consumer with small and business banking? Talk a bit about the commonalities across there. To the uninformed, it might seem logical to separate those out, given some of the differences in individual versus individual in the context of running a business, for example, and that small business's needs. Talk a bit about the logic and the power of the combination, please.
Absolutely. If you look at the needs for anyone on the consumer side of the house or a small business, they come to the bank and they basically first ask for a checking account. I need to manage my money. I need to send money. I need to, get my money. I need to do something with my money in terms of savings, CDs. So the basic need, the entry point is exactly the same. That doesn't mean that we have the same products, but we do the same pricing, for instance, on saving promos or CDs across both worlds. Then the second type of need that you will see is credit. Like, can I have a line of credit, whether it's a credit card or any unsecured credit line? That's on both sides of the house, whether it's a personal loan or a simple business loan, they are totally the same. Where it starts to diverge is the moment it's like, I want to have a loan on my work capital for the work capital of my business. That's not typically something that a consumer needs. They need a mortgage, maybe an auto loan and a personal loan, but that's where it starts to diverge. If you look at channel usage, it's basically the same. Very high usage of the mobile app, both for small business as for the consumer. When they need help, they go to the branch. They like the branch. They don't do the calls to the call centers. They like to go to the branch for where they really need the help. So we have that whole outfit already. We have the mobile app. We have all the branches. We have the products and the needs that are the same. And that's why we brought it together. Where it's a bit more specific is that area between 10 million to 25 million of revenue. And that's where we have true business bankers. That's where we have a couple of different products that we don't have in the consumer or small business side of the house. So that's basically what it is.
Talk a bit about, if you would, I alluded to it a moment ago, but I'd like to understand more from you as to how your prior roles, and especially the one immediately preceding this one, prepared you for a role like this one. And I mean, the extent to which you care to pontificate, the extent to which this might be kind of an opportunity that other, former peers of yours might seek as a result of the insights you have about the going from a pure technology, I shouldn't say pure, but a primarily technology role now to a broader set of responsibilities.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a question that I ask myself as well, and I also ask my boss, why me, or what does it take to run something like this versus technology? I think that first of all, I think that every different employer that I worked for has helped me to come to this point. So I do want to start there with ING and ING Direct. I really started to understand the power of simplicity. And a digital bank, if you're a pure digital bank, everything needs to be simple. Otherwise, the call center is getting overwhelmed with calls. So you need to drive such a aggressive simplifying effort every week to make sure nothing is getting complicated, which is normally human behavior, I would say. Then if you look at JP Morgan Chase, that really helped me to understand the blast radius of a large bank here in the US. So if something goes wrong, the blast radius is enormous. And it helped me to stretch myself from an incident that is like, okay, this is a real incident towards, oh, this is really a big incident. And on the tech side, your career is not defined by your successes, because there's hardly any success. It's just making sure that the plant runs every day, call that success. A career is really built upon how do you deal with a crisis. And I've learned that the hard way in terms of having a few incidents with Chase where you really see the blast radius and the impact to our customers. Now, I think that blast radius and that stretch also helps you to understand that only the paranoid will survive. Not only how you deal with a crisis, but how do you prevent a crisis in the first place? And it instilled in me a kind of paranoid behavior, Peter, that I think in this type of role that I have today is really, really helpful. The generic skills, if I can say it like that, for which I was asked for this role, really comes down to three important things. Are you able to articulate a strategy? Are you able to create followership by your team and teams and people? And three, are you able to execute on that strategy? And that sounds so simple, that's hard in itself. I think if you do that for large groups as technology, there is something to say that if you do that well, you could also do that for a consumer bank. And then last but not least, I think the technology part in any consumer or business bank is like 70% of 80% of the success. Because retail is scale. Everything is at scale. You cannot do it manually. It's impossible to have 4,000 branches working manually. It needs to be all automated. The digital app is supporting our customers. It's all automated. So you need to know really a lot about technology, I think, to go faster than the rest or to do it better than the rest. And I'm not saying that I own all these attributes that I mentioned. I leave that up to Charlie and the board and why I'm here. But I think that's the kind of package that you would need in a role like this. And the tech role really helped me to get there.
Can you talk a bit about the evolution of the use of technology to impact customer experience across the various personas that are now within your purview that you mentioned before? Again, the pandemic, as terrible as it was, we would never wish for it again, was a remarkable catalyst for digital transformation, digital adoption, for first and foremost for personal safety reasons for so many, of course. But the long tail of that is now a lot more cognizance and appreciation for so many that perhaps earlier were less comfortable using digital means of engaging with businesses, for example. And talk a bit about your own perspective on its evolution in recent years.
I think that the pandemic made for everybody clear, like how low the hurdle is to do things online or in an app. If there were any people that were still like hesitant to use the mobile app, whether it's for banking or something else, the sheer need to use it because there was hardly any other venue than your mobile app during especially the first couple of months of the pandemic. So it took away the people who were like, I'm not sure to, okay, I need to, okay, I like it actually. Secondly, we see expectations that have been increasing through the pandemic for things like DocuSign or things like, why do I still need to put a wet signature on a piece of paper? Are you kidding me? Send it to me, I will sign it. So the set of expectations has gone up. And I think that every or most of the customers started to see how, I call that channel parity, Peter, how little large companies had channel parity between contact centers, stores or shops or branches and digital. And basically seeing like, wait a minute, I can do everything here in the mobile app. Here I need to go to a branch. Here I need to go to a store. There I need to call the call center, and it's all over the place. So I think the expectations of our customers, and I speak for many of the companies now, not only for us, the expectations have increased, and it forced many companies here in the US and around the world to really streamline and create channel parity and making sure that it's customer choice to make a call. And if they make a call, they expect the same type of functionality as they have in the mobile app. And that contact center agent better has all that functionality because that's what they expect nowadays. I think that's one of the viewpoints that I can share with you. But listen, channels are beautiful animals that you have to treat very well, very well.
No, well said. I appreciate that perspective, Saul. You mentioned earlier the fact that you own data and AI development for your areas of responsibility, and that you're thrilled that's the case, that it's under your remit, as these are areas of great interest and presumably where you have identified tremendous potential value and actual value from strong use of each. Talk a bit about the evolving data capabilities as a foundational layer to now also then capture more value from emergent technologies associated and opportunities associated with artificial intelligence. What has you most excited, and what are the ways in which you and the team have set that foundation to be able to capture the value associated with it?
Yeah, I'm glad that you start the question with like data and then talking about AI versus the other way around, where people forget about how important data is and data are. If you look at, I bless myself for the fact that my predecessor, Mary Mack, already set up a central data team for the whole consumer business, who has been working very like strictly on creating all the authoritative data sources that allow us to have one unique view of a certain data set of a customer. With the cloud migration that we are doing, we are putting that into a data layer, and that data layer is available to anyone who needs that specific piece of data for a certain whatever routine it is, or for a certain Gen AI or for an AI model. Without that, it's hard work, and we still have areas where it's not as pristine as I just described. So I don't want to create like, oh, that's heaven at Wells Fargo. They have everything already accomplished. We are definitely well underway. We know exactly what we are doing. And just like with the regulatory things that we put behind us, just by being very execution focused, we do the same here on data. Then if you look at the data that we have, we really use that already for years in fraud, in marketing, in cyber. Those are really the known areas for being very AI savvy for targeting of customers or making sure that fraud is staying out of the house as much as we can. And with cyber, it's the same. It's detecting the bad actors. What you nowadays see is that Gen AI, I call that consumerized. It's a little bit like when the mobile phone came in 2000, what was it, 7, 8? Suddenly everybody had technology in their hands that was like way better than what they had at the office. And what we now see with ChatGPT, Perplexity, all the different models, our own people, our employees and our customers, they suddenly have all AI models in the palm of their hand, and they expect the same at work. So Gen AI is for us now really to help our own employees to satisfy their needs. Why can I not do this with a model? B, to take out any type of work that is simple, repetitive, can be read through an agent. They can build the workflow, the agent. They can implement the workflow, and they can run the workflow. And you can really have the people upskilled to more interesting work if they are able to, or if they are interested to. If I look at where we are, it's only the beginning, Peter. I think we're scratching the surface, as we all know. I'm very excited about it personally. I see a bright future, assuming that we will have a few guardrails around where we are taking it and where we will not take it. Yeah.
You also mentioned lightheartedly that this is kind of a hobby of yours as well, that you love work so much that you take some of that, some of what you think about from work back home with you, presumably. Talk a bit about how it's impacted your own workflows. Are there new ways in which you are collaborating with artificial intelligence that have you elevating perhaps in ways that weren't possible previously?
Oh, we do. It's very simple. Like we have this product of one of the vendors. I'm not gonna brand them all because they have enough let's say presence in the market. But I use tools to do the recap of my unread mails at the end of the day and just ask what is in there, what is interest of me, is there any action I need to take, what do you propose as an action? And with that simple prompt, I can close off the day pretty quickly and see what is just for read and what is really requiring my action. If I look at the way I read documents before and now how I read documents, I read the summary that is coming to me that I ask for. If I look at performance reviews, I wrote those like it was always like a weekend in October. And nowadays I merge my check-ins that I do with my directs, with their own self-assessments, with the KPI list that we have. And I ask for a wholesome summary as a performance review for my people. It's done in like literally 3 minutes instead of 20 to 30 minutes per person. And I make it personal. So that's another 5 minutes, but it's 8 minutes against 30 minutes. those are just small little things in my own workspace, if I can say it like that. And at home, yeah, we settle every argument now with Perplexity or one of the other models that we use with my wife and myself, because we know there's somewhere like an autonomous model that seems to have it right. But we have also learned that we need to check it. It's not always right.
Yeah, very interesting. You mentioned very appropriately that it's still the early part of the game, so to speak, relative to
Yeah.
artificial intelligence progress. There's a lot of progress to come. What has you most excited as you think about where that progress might take such a large and expansive and meaningful organization as yours?
If we take just a few year steps, like in the next 2 years, uh, more and more penetration of Gen AI in the workspace for any type of stare and compare, any type of, oh, a policy is changing, what is changing on like procedures and controls, just all that work that is taking often so much analysts, so much time is going to be done in different ways. And again, it will free up capacity, mental and intelligent capacity to do other things that we are not doing today. So I think that's the shorter term type of impact that we will see, and everybody can see that coming. I think midterm, like 2 to 5 years from now, it's agent to agent, which is going to happen. So we will be in an agent to agent economy. You, me, likely we will be represented by an agent that is like part of our own personal staff, if you want to see it like that. AI agents that are taking care of all the things, the mundane things that we don't always want to do, but it needs to be done, or you want it to be done by somebody else instead of yourself. And it acts actually with an AI agent on the other side. So booking a room in a hotel for 2 months from now in London is going to be taken by an AI agent by the booking.coms of the world, while an AI agent is booking that on my behalf with that AI agent. So that AI to AI type of agent economy is definitely coming, and it's hard and heavy, and everybody predicts that it will come very soon. I think the third one will be autonomous everything. And autonomous everything is something like, yeah, it doesn't need an instruction anymore. It already understands how humankind works. So with the decomposition and re-engineering of the brain, there is so much possible in like 5 to 10 years from now that the way we think, the way we act, there are many things that can be taken out of our hands with autonomous everything type of devices, whatever that's going to be. What it will not or cannot replace yet or ever, I don't know, is like, call it soul, call it your spirit, call it your consciousness, call it your, yeah, deeper feelings or intuition. I stay away from there. I know there are already science officers in the open AIs of the world that are looking at how can we have consciousness baked into models, but that doesn't mean yet that a model can be as conscious as a human being. But that's, I think, the three phases that I see: large scale penetration of Gen AI into the workplace, then AI to AI, and then really an autonomous everything. Uh, yeah, that's where we are going.
Very interesting. An organization the scale of yours, in order to derive maximal value out of this, needs to ensure that everyone is cognizant of what's available, is in fact using it, is drawing conclusions, is understanding the limitations of it, and so on. How do you think about training and encouraging and providing incentives for technologists and non-technologists alike, people who are running towards it, maybe though also those that are initially repelled by it as well? How do you think about developing a rhythm such that this is something that the broader part of the organization is experimenting with and taking advantage of it?
The smartest people that we have that are often also the laziest people. The laziest smart people are always the ones to find out directly like, oh, that thing is great because I can do my work now, not in 8 hours, but in 4 hours. That's always the group that starts with these things. So the engineers that are already using Copilot, GitHub, Copilot, you will see they're already there. Then you have the group that you have to say, like, take a training, see what it is, start using it. That is like the vast majority of the people where you really have to provide a training and it's a mandatory training. So we started with the training already last year, and this year we repeated it just to make sure that people in my business understand what it can do and really to basically start to seduce them to see the power and how much easier their work can be if you start to think about different tools to do it. And then you have the no, never, never, ever type of category of people uh, where it's for them a choice. And I say that in town halls, I say it in Ask Me Anything sessions like this. Um, if you don't want to stay employable, then that's your own choice. But don't be surprised if at one day you will be displaced because of the fact that a new technology came in and took over your job. And that's something that we can help you with. We provide you training. We allow you to use things, to experiment with things. But if you don't want to take it, it's your own choice. You will at one point not be employable anymore. And that is not a threat, that is a reality. And yeah, I'm trying to make them aware. I really weigh in on that type of discussion and making clear it's a two-way street. We offer you something, you can take it, but if you don't take it, don't complain if you get displaced. It's a very Dutch way of reasoning. It's very harsh if I say it like that, but it's the only fair answer in the world for people who don't want to take on new things that come to the place.
No, that clarity, though, is certainly very helpful and important. I wanted to also ask you, right around the time we last spoke on the record, you started a neurodiversity hiring program in technology, which is now, as I understand it, been scaled to other functions at Wells Fargo as well. Talk a bit about the genesis of the program, but also the value that you and the company derive from it, if you would.
Let's start with why we started this. Was really for the fact it's a win-win-win. We started to find out that many people know people who have are on the spectrum or neurodiverse, and many people have given up hope and belief and ambition that their child or their niece or their neighbor child could ever get a job. And what we created was a program by which we created hope again for those families, especially the parents, where secondly, we created the ability to apply for a role instead of having an interview, being selected for your qualities and not so much the way you interact or engage with other people. And then thirdly, the third win was really also for the company when we started to find out. I started this at ING. I did it at the other bank, JP Morgan, and we do it here as well. We started to see productivity improvements that were like the whole program. Yeah, this sounds very bad the way I say it, but don't get me wrong here. It made money in terms of the people are so engaged, they're so highly productive that in 3 to 6 months, the hire and the cost of hiring that are a little bit elevated versus the normal type of hiring, if you want to say it like that, but that's not the reason why we did it. We did it always for the first two reasons: provide hope and belief and ambition again to the families and make sure that the candidates have a fair chance to a role that they can do, but they just don't interview that easily or smile when you have a joke as a hiring manager, and therefore they are not getting selected. That is so unfair. They have all the other qualities. Now, if you look at where we are now, we have it's a little bit over 400 people that we have hired through the program. It is across 9 different functions and lines of business. So it's not only technology anymore, we have risk, operations in my own space, in the branches. At the branches, we have now, I think, 22 people that we hired. And it's amazing to see how they live up to the occasion and how that goes. For me, an important 2 statistics, Peter, that you always have to keep in mind: retention. And the retention is 90% after 4.5 years being, and that's great. And then we also look at promotion rate, and the promotion rate is 15%. So we don't hire for a role, we hire for a career path. And they become part of the normal career path. If you are a personal banker, you can become a licensed banker. Or if you are an engineer, starting engineer, you can become a principal engineer. This program, as you can see, is still a big passion for me. I'm still sponsoring the program for the company, and I keep on doing that and making sure that we still grow the water level of people that we hire. One final thing that I say about is the University of Connecticut, UConn. They have opened up a faculty about neurodiversity and neurodiversity in the workplace. And they are now spreading what we have built up as a set of practices, the set of like the relations that we have, how to scale a program like this, not only how to set it up, how to scale it. They are now teaching other companies around the world with this faculty. They teach other companies to do it. So we say here at this floor of the bank, okay, we have mission accomplished. It's not only for ourselves anymore. It's now getting replicated across many other companies from England, from the US, from Europe, and that's just wonderful to see.
That's extraordinary. Thank you so much for sharing those stories. Very enlightening and remarkable how the bank is doing well by doing good, so to say. I wanted to ask you, Saul, as somebody who is so clearly very curious and somebody who is constantly thinking about the future, what other trends excite you as you look to the future that might be making their way onto your roadmap that you would underscore here?
I just spoke about AI and where that is going. I think there's one other thing that is interesting. What is the next device? The phone, and I grant Apple a lot of success, but one day I do believe there will be another device that is like that you don't need to carry anymore, that will be embedded somewhere. And how that will be, I have no idea. Like with the glasses, it's coming closer to your brain. I always say, like, this is already like closer than the keyboard. But there's something there in the device world that I'm not sure. It could be Neuralink, the combining the chip with your brain. Something will be there, and I'm interested in that. My profile as a leader is I'm a driver scientist. That means I will command where it's needed, but I'm also a scientist. I'm very, very interested in new things that are coming or potential new things that are coming. So that's where my eagerness comes from to understand it. Yeah, that's the device. And then I think that's the most important thing, honestly, because we are nailing the brain and how we think and act, apart from the things that I already said, like feelings, intention, consciousness, soul, spirit. That's not yet there. No, I think that's it. For the rest, it will be all, a little bit of the same, I think. The fact that we still have cars, Peter, just think about it. At late 1800s, we found out the car in its combustion engine principle that we still have. Finally, it's EV now and hybrid, but it took a long, long time to get there. So it is strange to see how far we are with Gen AI already and how simple things like a wash machine and a laundry, all those things, they're still basically the same as they were 50 years ago or 60 years ago. So I think there's still a whole platform of innovation coming through all those devices that we have that can be done differently. Leonardo da Vinci would already have done this so much differently.
I like that. I like that perspective. I wanted to also ask you, Saul, here at the close, anything you've recently read, watched, and or listened to that you'd recommend to others?
I would always say Peter Diamandis is like Singularity, Ray Kurzweil, because if you look at what he all predicted and where we are now and what is even going faster than he predicted, and some things that didn't came through that he predicted, but there's so much like foresight on the brain of Ray Kurzweil in that sense. So yeah, no, I track, I read and I listen to podcasts of Peter, and then the books that I read, there's so many books and there's so little books, I must say, because there are many books that you read and you think, okay, that was a book. There are a few books that will always stick with you. I like Range from David Epstein. It's about like generalists versus specialists, and what is good with the one, what's better with the other one, what's better with this. It's not a very distinct, direct answer, but there's something like having different experiences in life. And it's basically a big, book about stay intellectual curious. I think that's what it is. And that's a little bit what triggers me as well. I never want to have the feeling that I don't learn anymore, Peter. If that happens, I feel like I die a little bit every day. I want to keep on learning and developing. Yeah.
Well, clearly that's the case. I certainly admire the degree to which you continue to push yourself to do so, and the heights you've achieved as a result of having done so. Saul, thank you so much for making a bit more time for me today, sharing your perspectives of some of the advancements that you're helping usher in at Wells Fargo, a bit of a view into the future as well. It's been a great conversation as always.
Thank you, Peter, for having me, and thank you for your questions. And I wish you very, very much good luck, success, and health, and a great health.